All right, man. Delray Richardson, man. Happy to have you back on the platform, my man.
What's happening, man? Art of the dialogue. Thanks for having me again, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, the last time I had you on the platform, man, we did numbers. Some of the content went viral, so.
Yeah, shout out to the Source Magazine and Hot Hip Hop for having, pick that up. I think they kind of really catching on to the truth and the facts that we talking about in reference to the Faith Evans situation. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So a few weeks ago, man, Dru Down, he did an interview with Yukmouth. And when he did his interview with Yukmouth, he pretty much told a story. He went into detail and he told a story about how he was at Tupac hotel room and Faith Evans, she knocked on the door and he let her in. And he also said that she was trying to disguise herself. She had like a black hoodie on or something like that. So, yeah, man, how you feel about that, my man?
Well, first and foremost, it only lends credibility to what we were saying, as if Tupac saying it wasn't enough. But when the crazy part is when she was talking about when her and Tupac went back to the hotel in her book, it only sheds more light on it that, she even lied more than I said she did once Dru Down basically spoke out about how the situation came about when she came to the hotel. Because in the book, she basically said that after they recorded the Wonder Why They Call You Bitch, that Tupac had told her that the money was at the hotel and his manager would be bringing it over to the hotel. And that was the reason why she went back to the hotel. But from what Dru Down basically said, he basically said that Tupac, him, and Big Syke was already at the hotel. And Dru Down said basically he had some girls there already and said, and then Tupac said, oh, no, don't worry about it, because I got somebody coming. And you know what I mean? Wait till she get here. You going to trip out, who it is that's coming. And, Dru Down was like, yo, who? So, when she knocked on the door and Tupac was like, yo, go get the door. You know what I mean? And he went and got the door. And like I said, he said he didn't even recognize her when she came in until she kind of walked in and was like, who was that? And then she spoke to Dru Down, was like, hey, what's up, Dru? And Dru Down was like, who was that? It's like Faith. He was like, oh, you know what I mean? Because he had just seen her at some award show or something like that. And so, like I said, that only just, proves that she only used Tupac in her book to help sell her book. Most people don't understand that Tupac was used as the catalyst to sell her book. When they brought the book out, which I come to find out, they used those quotes from the book to basically get people's attention. And like I said, she basically lied. And like I said, once again, when you think about it, Dru Down coming out and saying that, it just proves it a little bit more. But what I want to say that I didn't say before was, most people don't understand. When I came out, I didn't come out to try to disrespect. I came out to correct the historical narrative that there was something that Tupac did to Faith Evans that was wrong. And that's not the truth. And I want you to understand this. Like I said, and I'm going to go through it so that you really, really clearly understand it. And I'm not going to really speak on this again. So like I said, on the 18th of October, 1995, we were at the Hollywood Athletic Club. Faith went back to the hotel for the first time that night after the Hollywood Athletic Club. She went back to Tupac's hotel at the Peninsula Hotel. The next day, they went to the studio to record You Wonder Why They Call You Bitch. That was October 19th, 1995, right? After the studio, now we know from what Dru Down basically said, she claimed that they went back to the studio together. That didn't happen. So that's more clarification on it. We also know that the $25,000 that she had claimed that he had promised her was basically a myth, because we know now that she came back separately from that time. But what I want you to understand is this. Faith Evans basically said that the night of the 19th, and it would happen on October 19th, that Tupac kicked her out of his hotel room. He said a whole bunch of salacious, disrespectful stuff to her. and he basically disrespected her in front of nobody at that particular time, as we knew of, because it was him and her in the hotel, in which we know now it was him and her in the hotel doing what they did. And so after that, we go to 26 days out. And in between that time, Faith Evans had been in contact with Tupac 5 times. And what I want you to understand is, if everything that she said that happened on the night of the 19th was true, she wouldn't have been in contact with Tupac 5 times after that. We've seen the pictures already, but check. So on the 13th of November, 1995, prior to the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party the day before, Faith Evans basically said in her book that on this day, she got a page out of the blue from Tupac. You got a page, and she called him back. Now, if the $25,000 that you said that he owed you were true, are you picking up, returning any kind of page? He kicked you out of his hotel room. He disrespected you. He called you all kinds of B words and so on and so forth because you didn't do the sexual things that you said that he wanted you to do. Or you didn't want to, participate in those activities. So now, the first thing, if you return the page that you're going to do, what is the first question that you're going to ask Tupac if you return the page? What would you ask? I'm just going to ask you, what would you ask about?
What I would ask is, where's my money?
Absolutely. And the fact on this first time, after she said all of those things happened on the 19th, back at the hotel and him kicking her out and doing all of this, she called him back from the page after he paged her, and basically they had a small conversation, and she said Tupac asked her, so what you out here working on? The question I had to ask, well, how would Tupac even know you was in California?
Right.
I mean, just think about it now. Like, out of the blue, you get a page from Tupac, and he calls you, and in your book you said that he asked you what you working on.
Right.
How would he know you in town?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, man.
Absolutely. So that's the first time now. And so, once again, the fact that you called him back after he paged you is, it lets you know that, truthfully, none of the stuff that she said happened in her book as far as Tupac disrespect. It didn't happen. But I'm going to go on so that you really understand. So, the next night, the night of the actual Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party, once again, going to the party, she said her cell phone rings. And it's Tupac again. So she pick up the phone, and she says Tupac asks her, so Faith, where you at? And she's like, I'm here. He's like, I'm here too at the party. And mind you, I didn't say this, but Whitney Houston had invited Tupac to the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party. Most people don't really know that. So she's like, I'm here too. Where you at? She's like, I'm in the limo. So now she invites Tupac to get in the limo. And not only that, so they sitting back in the limo. She said they smoking weed. And she then introduces Tupac to her friend Nikki from Brownstone. I want you to understand something. And you can look back on this from the previous video that we did. There would be no need to introduce Nikki to Tupac because Tupac already met Nikki at the Hollywood Athletic Club. She's in the picture with her, Tretch, my man Roland Work, and that picture, that infamous picture from the Hollywood Athletic Club. So why would she then in turn reintroduce Tupac to Nikki when he already knew who Nikki was? They were there that night. They took pictures together. That's another lie that lets you know that it really wasn't true what she was saying. Okay, cool. So now we in the limo kicking it. You know what I mean? And like I said, you got to understand. She said that all of this stuff that Tupac, all of this salacious and disrespectful stuff that he did on that night in particular, right? Okay, now we ready to walk the red carpet. Not alone, but we walk the red carpet together, right? So her, Nikki, Tupac, they all walked the red carpet together. And she said she came up with this thought of wanting to tell the onlookers and the paparazzi that she didn't actually verbalize it. She verbalized it in the book. She said that I wanted to tell everybody that that I wasn't with Tupac and that he just jumped in my car and I just met him yesterday. This is actually what she said. So you mean that you met him on the 13th and not 27 days earlier? On the 18th of October? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So once again, this is the second time, right, that she's been in touch with Tupac. So after that, they get into the party. Where does Tupac sit? He don't sit at his own table. He don't sit at Whitney Houston's table. He sit at Faith Evans' table. And she makes an observation of Tupac. This is 26 days after you've been with this guy and you said that he did all of this stuff to you. But the only thing that really happened is y'all were together. And she really liked Tupac. You can't deny it. You see the pictures. Tupac sat at her table and they kicked it. And it was all good. So I need you to understand. I need the world to understand. This is not about what Tupac, what Faith Evans basically said. This is about the truth and about the facts of the matter. And like I said, I wish to just put this to rest from that perspective. And another thing she said, Tupac came and picked me up after that party, 2-3 days after the Waited to Exhale soundtrack police party in his black Benz. No, he didn't. Tupac didn't come pick her up. Why would he come pick her up? You already been to the hotel. You was at the hotel 27 days ago, right? And it was supposed to be the next day. So she's telling this story, once again, like I said, based on the pictures that everybody's seen, that it was all good. There was never nothing. She created the whole story to help sell her book. And so that you know that, everybody needs to know these facts, man.
Danny Boy. Danny Boy also did an interview and, he made a comment saying that Faith Evans spent $40K on Tupac and she spent $40K on clothes for Tupac. How you feel about that?
Well, there's no need to feel anything about it because it's not true. No, because how would, once again, we go back to the $25,000, right? So I'm a guy who likes math. And so what that would be basically saying, and I don't know where Danny Boy got his information as far as the money's concerned, but I do know where the story came from. And it was from a January 14th, 1996 article in the New York Times magazine entitled, Does a Sugar Bear Bite? And it was over a 2-month period that the reporter actually did the interview. And in the interview, once he was interviewing, they were going to the Riddick Bowe fight. And Tupac had on some jeans and a shirt. And Suge Knight basically said that Tupac, that Faith had bought those clothes that Tupac had on along with some other stuff. You know what I mean? So, and it was, a couple other things from that perspective. And, she didn't spend that much money or any money at all from my understanding. And the fact of the matter is, so if Tupac allegedly was going to pay Faith $25,000, which is not true, and we know that now, why would she then spend 50? So you gonna spend $50,000 or $40,000 on a guy who you just met the night before and take him shopping to make 25? The math just doesn't add up. And furthermore, George Price, the Death Row publicist, on the tape with Chuck Phillips, you can basically hear him say that Tupac, a few days before that studio session, had been to the Beverly Center, basically shopping and buying clothes and things of that nature. So, like I said, I'm a guy who likes math, and like I said, I'm not here to lie on Faith Evans or say anything that's not true, but that's simply not true. You don't spend $40,000 to make 25. That's hustling backwards.
Right. Yeah, man. When I seen the interview, him telling that story, it really didn't make sense because, if I'm not mistaken, Faith Evans, she even said in numerous interviews that the reason why she left, the tour with Bad Boy and Biggie and Puffy was to come to LA to make money.
Absolutely.
So,
And furthermore, like I said, there was also a rumor that she had pawned her ring. Like I said, I know that the night we were at the Hollywood Athletic Club, as I pointed out before, that she didn't have her ring on. And for whatever reason that was her own personal reason. But like I said, she couldn't have. And so my thing is, well, where would they go shopping?
I mean, you can't think of nowhere.
Yeah, you can't go to the Beverly Center. And that's where Tupac was shopping at when the reporter from the Newsweek magazine had spotted him a few days before that studio session with him and Faith had actually happened. So he had been shopping. And like I said, this is during an interview when Suge Knight says it. Tupac didn't say this. You got to remember, Tupac didn't say it out his mouth. Suge had said it to the reporter that the wife of a famous rapper, the wife of a famous rapper bought these clothes for Tupac. And the reporter asked who? And he was saying Faith Evans, and so on and so forth. And by that time, like I said, this is January 14th, 1996. By that time, Faith had already been on the radio denying that she had been with Tupac. So that goes into what I was trying to explain to you, that Faith Evans, it had got out that night when we were at the Hollywood Athletic Club that she was kicking it with Tupac. And remember this, Art, and I want you to know this. Nobody ever knew what Biggie meant in Hypnotize until I exposed it. Because I was there. There I squeezed 3 at your cherry M3, bang every MC easily, busily. And that was a shot at Faith, because that's what she was driving that night when they were at the Hollywood Athletic Club when she pulled up. Like I told you, it got back to Biggie that same night. And so, like I said, when you deal with the facts of what Dru Down said, her coming into the hotel, with the Grim Reaper hoodie on, trying to disguise herself and being incognito and things like that, it doesn't bode well for her book. Once again, I think the truth, once again, is always sufficient, man. Because you never know the people that were there, who was with Tupac, who knew Tupac. And like I said, it basically, it's come to light now that it was all a lie, basically, to sell her book.
Fat Joe, man, Faith Evans, man, she also made a comment on, the Fat Joe show or whatever, the little show he got on IG or whatever, Absolutely. IG Live. And she said that the picture she took with Tupac was a setup. How you feel about that, my man?
Well, like I said, once again, no feelings involved, just facts. You know what I mean? And when we deal with this, like I said, my friend, rest in peace, may rest in peace, Roland Wirt was the promoter. Now you got to understand, every Wednesday night the Hollywood Athletic would go on. He would always have a photographer there to take pictures with himself with various celebrities, because he would then take that and use that to promote his club night. You know what I mean? So that would be also not true. And I can see why she would say that now, based on the fact that, myself, Dru Down, Mac Mall, and everybody who was there to witness what they witnessed have spoken out now. So like I said, that would be untrue, because before that, well, they would have to have known that Faith was going to be there, and the photographer was already there, because the guy or girl, because he would switch off, was there every week. You know what I mean? This was a spot that I frequent every week, and he always had photographers there. And I'm sure that there's more pictures from that night with other people, because there were other celebrities there that night too. So that also would be not true. And I can, like I say, that's a Monday morning move. If you want to like go back and say, well, they set me up. Like, how? Set you up how? To have your ring not on too, and all of the other things that transpired that night. You know what I mean? Like you going back to the hotel too? They set that up too. You know what I mean? So, once again, like I said, it is what it is, man. And like I said, this wasn't about Tupac and Faith having sex. This was about her feeble attempt to try to assassinate his character and who he was, and basically piggyback off of the case in New York and the sentiment that people felt about that case in New York, and what had happened and what they had said that Tupac had did, which once again he actually didn't do, and it came to light, you know, like I said, once again, involving that. So she was basically trying to piggyback off that sentiment. Oh, he was known to do this, so if I said that he did this in the book, you know, people will believe it. You know what I mean? So that's basically what she was trying to do, and it didn't work.
Speaking of Mac Mall, man, he made a comment about seeing Tupac and Faith at the club or whatever. I forgot exactly the words, you know, exactly what he said, you know, in regards to that, you know, incident or whatever. But he did say that he's seen Tupac and Faith at the club. And I know you remember what he said. So how you feel about him making those comments?
Well, once again, Mac Mall is a guy who he's a Bay Area legend. You know what I mean? Dru Down, Bay Area legend. These guys, their reputation is solid. So, you know, they ain't coming out and just speaking on some things. But basically what he said is that they went to the Century Club one night, and they went up to the VIP area. And when they went up in there, you know, they seen Faith, you know, sitting in the corner. And Pop was like, you know, oh, hold on. No, we ain't gonna be over here. You know, I mean, we ain't really trying to, you know, be here. And he said that he noticed that Faith gave a look. She had a look on her face of like somebody that you dealt with, and like she kind of like upset that you might not be dealing with her no more, like you acting funny or whatever. So basically he made an observation, you know, and this is someone who I don't know if he knew at the time or Pac explained to him at the time when they walked up in there. But yeah, he basically confirmed, you know, that it was what it was. Like I said, he had been through situations like that with females. When you deal with females and you've been with them and you really, you know, it was like a one-time move or whatever, and you really don't want to deal with them no more. So that's basically what he said. So, you know, like I said, once again, you know, and not even that, once again, you just deal with the fact that it's crazy, man, that people can, you know, whether it was Vlad TV she went on, Drink Champs, MTV, all of these other media outlets let her get on there and gave her a platform to be able to tell this story when the truth was simply available right there in their face. And like I said, you can't deny that and say, well, hey, you know what? I guess I just want the interview. I don't really want to know the truth. I just want to hear what she has to say, you know? And like I said, because when she was on Vlad, it was like, I was like, wow, he really didn't ask any hard questions. You know what I mean? And so that was surprising to me. And it seems like everybody just, you know, let her speak what she wants to speak. And like I said, there's simple questions. There's one question that you can ask Faith Evans when she ever does an interview ever again. And you can ask her, so did you see Tupac 26 days after y'all were at the studio at the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party? And it's simple. Did you see him 26 days after?
Yeah, man, she be doing all these interviews, man, and nobody never challenged anything she says, man. She just be on all these platforms just saying anything, man.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. So that's the question that you can ask her. Did you see Tupac 26 days after y'all were in the studio? Did he sit at your table, right? And you recorded Wonder Why You Call You Bitch on the 19th, correct? That's when that happened, right? So in your book, you said y'all recorded it afterwards. So when did you record the song? Let's get down to the facts. You know what I mean? Because something's not right. We have an interview right here, you know, and we have the timeline. It just doesn't equal up. So now you have to stand up and you have to be accounted and be honest about what you're saying. It's just that simple. And like I said, I really don't like talking about it. But like I said, what made me talk about it was when I found out and I heard that Drink Champs interview. It was like, whoa, how could she do that? You know what I mean? How could she do that? You know what I mean? To somebody who was really trying to help her out and really work with her. And it wasn't, like I said, Tupac was trying to be with her on that level. It just wasn't. Like I said, he could have had any lady in there that he wanted that night. You know, it just happened. And like I said, it didn't happen like she said it happened, because she came to the hotel with the hoodie on. You know what I mean? She didn't go back to the hotel with Tupac after the studio session like she said she did. So she came back later, and Dru Down confirmed that. So we know it's all a lie. All of that's a lie. And we just know that Tupac was telling the truth when he did hit him up and everything else.